I wanted to talk today, and I want to show you guys how to strip a Sten. That is, field strip a Sten. I'm also giving you a little bonus on a couple of accessories I got for this gun. I already showed you how this thing works. Now this gun is set for storage now. You notice that the magazine housing is facing down. Well, normally it faces this way. But you have a way, by pulling on this spring here, that you can move this magazine housing down so you can store the gun easier. Of course, you can't shoot the gun because the magazine won't stay in the housing, and it won't get to the bullets won't be able to get to the bolt here. But this is how you store it. All right, if you wanted to take this gun apart, let's see, let me get this off here. If you look in the back here, you see this thing over here. It looks like a button. This is the recoil spring cap here. You press this button here, and at the same time push down on the stock. Here we go. There goes the stock, folks. Is that piece of cake or what? Here's your this little button here. Looks like this is actually your mainspring cap, and the round part around it is your mainspring retainer. The retainer is just like sort of screwed in. Remember lefty-loosey, righty-tighty? So we want to remove this, so we do lefty for lefty-loosey. So you just turn it to the left and hold on to it because it's going to come loose. Here we go. This is your mainspring. This is your mainspring cap with a button on it. This is your mainspring retainer. Piece of cake. What I love about this gun is look at the size of this mainspring. It's freaking huge. It's just the right size to fit into the receiver tube. So many machine guns before this and after have these tiny little bitty springs that can get bent and kinked up real easy. A lot of them actually have to have a stiffener rod run through them to keep them from bending and kinking. This is so big, there's no way. You don't need any stiffener rods or anything, any kind of guide rods through it to keep it from kinking. It's just perfect. This is brilliant. Now you got to move it. You got to grab a hold of your bolt handle and move it down to here so you can pull it out. There's your bolt handle. You want to get your bolt assembly out, you got to pull your trigger. All right, come on, baby. There we go. This is a massive bolt. This is solid steel. I think it was machined from bar stock. It was like a big bar of steel that machined it out of. If you look close in the front, Miriam, you will notice that the bolt face here, you'll notice that the firing pin is actually machined into the bolt. It's got a fixed firing pin because it fires from an open bolt. Now the British, when they designed this gun, there are only two parts in this gun that really require the kind of machining that you need a special place to do it in, and that's the bolt and the barrel. Every other part on this gun is all sheet steel, and you can make these parts in a bicycle shop, and that's what they did. They had a lot of small machine shops build the other little parts for this gun, and the big arms manufacturers like Fazockerly and Enfield, they built the bolt and the barrel where you needed the heavy machine work. Now the British, they tried to cut down on the machine work that they had to do on this gun. What they ended up doing is they came out with a bolt that was cast out of, it was made out of bronze, which I think is a copper tin alloy. And they cast the bolt, and it was almost finished. All they had to do was a little bit of finish machining, and the bolt was done. Now, bronze is actually more expensive than steel, but the money was in the machine work, because since they were able to cast the bolts out of bronze, they had to do less finish machining. These had to be machined all out of a solid piece of steel, so it took more time to machining, and it took more money and time to do machining than it did to do the casting. I mean, they actually made money because even though the bronze bolts were the bronze is more expensive, when you ended up with a finished bolt, the finished bolt ended up cheaper. I don't have a bronze bolt because I didn't really want one, because this is not an original Sten. It's a tube gun that was the receiver was made in the United States, that is. Okay, so we got this apart. Now the only other things that you would usually take apart on this gun, although normally this would be enough of a field strip for people to clean the guns. You might want to pull this baby off. This is your housing for your trigger group. Some of these guns they had screws over here that held this thing down. On this one, they actually just have little dimples that fit into these holes here where the screws would normally be. So this was even easier to take apart. And here you see the inner workings of your trigger group. Okay, but we don't need to do that right now. Let's see if I can put this thing back together here. Okay. You want to make sure this goes over your trigger spring, your trigger pin here to hold that in. All right. So the last thing you would do is that you would normally do is you can unscrew this barrel. The big difference between the Mark II and the Mark III is the Mark III had a barrel that was pinned into the gun, and you couldn't remove the barrel on the Mark III. It was a little cheaper to manufacture, the Mark III, but it was sort of impossible to fix. If you had a bad barrel, you couldn't replace it easily. This one, you want to replace the barrel, you just pull the barrel out, put another barrel in, and you're set. So this is it. And you look. That's as far as you would normally go. Okay, now I'm not going to go into taking the trigger group apart, but it's fairly easy to take that apart. Maybe I will. I don't know. We'll see. Now I want to mention that when you put this gun together, many of the barrels on these guns have an index marked on them. If you look real close to where my fingernail is, you will see a mark. I mean, a straight line that's been notched in the barrel. This is your indexing mark, and you want to line up this indexing mark with your front sight, because what happens is that these barrels will actually shoot to the left or to the right as you rotate them. So they were originally set up, and they once they got these sights set, they would mark a mark on, like I said, an indexing mark on the barrel, so you would have it lined up perfect. This is why they normally did not take the barrel off of the gun. They left it there because they didn't want to screw up the indexing on it. There we go. Where is the index mark? Here we go. That's close enough. So this is how you're putting this thing back together. Now, if you look at this barrel nut, you'll notice that there's a bunch of teeth on here, and this guy over here fits into those teeth. So I usually screw it almost all the way in. I back it off just a little bit, then I put this. Okay, now it's in the hole. This guy's putting pressure on those teeth, and you just tighten it up like now. What? You hear a click? Now it's nice and tight, and it's in the teeth there. It's going to keep this thing from getting loose, so you don't have to worry about your barrel getting loose. Brilliant! It's just brilliant. Put your bolt in. You've got to line up the hole here, your bolt handle hole, with your cutout here, so you can get the handle back in, your bolt, and there we go. Look at that, perfect. Okay, that's good. Pull the trigger, there we go. Your mainspring. Your mainspring retainer. Remember, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. Alright, I'll get it there. To the right. There you go. Alright. Bonus accessory. This is your commando grip. Notice there's no stock on it. You put it on like this. You just push on that button. There you go. And here's your commando. Huh? Is that cool or what? That is neat. Commando, and you got your spot for your sling. Let's go back to the stock. They basically had two different stocks with this. This is the nice stock. This is your skeletonized stock. They had another one that was just a straight tube with a T piece on the end. They call it the T stock. I got a couple of those, but I never use them because this is much more comfortable to shoot. You'll also notice in this in the stock here, you have your own cleaning tool. That's cool. So now your gun, it's all put back together. But another bonus accessory here. This is gonna be fun. I like this. See if I can get this to go in. Oh, please. Ah, there you go. Ha ha! Bayonet! Bayonet! Yeah, this is the rare bayonet that they had for the Sten. It just fits right inside here and it locks in to the to one of the little holes here, one of the little vent holes. And that's how it works. It's just your basic spike bayonet that'll put the world of hurt on someone. So you run out of ammo, then you just go, and you know, that is cool. I like that. Hold on. So we don't need that. See, I take this off by sticking myself. There we go. And I got my little protector over here. There we go. Oh, so we got this and we got that. What we got here, this is a 50-round stick magazine for the Sten gun. I bought these special from a guy. He actually took two magazines and welded them together, and two springs and welded them together. So you want to see what this thing looks like with a 50-round magazine in it? Come on, baby. Ha ha ha! Oh yeah, baby. The only problem is don't try to walk around in a building because you'll hit yourself on a door opening every freaking time. Oh, is this nice? All right, Paul. All right. It's a little heavy, and that's not even freaking loaded. If this thing was loaded, it's like. Usually, I would put my hand underneath like this, and people say, "Don't touch the magazine." I'm not touching the magazine. I'm on magazine housing. And the magazine housing doesn't move as much as the magazine. I've never had the gun jam when I held it like this. You know, like I said, people will whine about it. I don't like holding it over here because it's too easy to get your fingers in here and that'll hurt. I mean, that's worse than M1 Garand thumb. Okay? When I shoot this with a 50-round magazine, it's like I can shoot it all day. It's great. Anyway, one last thing I wanted to show you. When I bought this gun, I bought a couple of parts kits. And a parts kit is what they do is they take the whole gun and they'll cut. Okay. They will actually cut off the receiver. See this? They cut off the receiver, and this is once they cut off the receiver, these are just gun parts. Okay. Here's the cover. Here's the other. Now remember I told you that they didn't usually take the barrels off very often. On this particular parts kit, if you will look, the barrel nut was actually welded to the receiver on this gun. This gun came from the country of India, and the Indian I guess the military did not want the troops to remove the barrels on these guns, so they actually welded the barrel nuts on them. I had to take a file and unfile that. I want to put another barrel on there. I can just screw this one on. So I got spare barrels. I've got spare parts. I got all the parts here to shoot the gun. If you look inside here, you can actually see how it works. Here's your sear. and this your bolt hits up against this sear. When you pull the trigger, you'll watch that sear drop, and that'll release the sear. I mean, it'll release the bolt, and it'll keep firing until you release the trigger. If it's in semi-auto, the bolt will come and hit this little arm here when it goes forward, and it'll release the sear, so the sear will pop up, so it'll fire semi-auto. It's a brilliant design. One of the guys that designed this trigger housing, you notice here's your trigger spring, your sear, your disconnector. It's like a brilliant design. I heard that the guy who designed this, his name was Harold Turpin. He was a draftsman, and I heard that he was at a restaurant when he designed this trigger housing, and he actually drew it all out on a napkin. And he took the napkin, and that's where he came up with the design for this trigger housing. It's just brilliant design. I hope you enjoyed the nice bayonet I got a hold of, and I hope you enjoyed learning how to take this gun apart. It's a piece of cake. You know what? Everyone should own one of these guns because they're so simple, they're so easy to use, and they're still deadly at the same time. So I hope that you enjoyed watching it again, and I wanted to thank my wife for being so nice to video this because I love her so much.